إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. What's today's date, by the way, everyone? No. As we continue on the day, 7:04 p.m., September the 2nd, 2018, which coincides with the Dhul Hijjah, and I forgot my phone, I left it in 22nd of Dhul Hijjah, 21st or 22nd of Dhul Hijjah, which is 1439 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. We continue in the chapter Bab min shirkin yastaghitha bighayrillah, the chapter which comes in of polytheism. And from polytheism is to seek what they call al-ghawth or istighatha with other than Allah Jalla fil Ula. As we talked about, istighatha is a type of worship, and it's specific. It's a specific type of dua. It's a specific type of invocation. As we talked about previously, we said that istighatha is du'a'ul makrub, the supplication of the one who's in a state of severe adversity, where he has lost all hope and lost everything that he has. More than likely, it could be a situation that is life-threatening, where one can die, where he sees, as for lack of better words, what people say, they seen my life flash before my soul in front of me. My life was about to be over, basically. And one turns to Allah ta'ala for that, for removal of that severe stress, or the state that he might be in, or he might be in a state of severe depression, and he has no one or nothing to turn to, or anything to turn to, except Allah. That is called istighatha. That type of dua is called istighatha, which is talab al-ghawth, to seek ghawth, meaning relief from the severe stress and adversity that you're facing at that particular time, or that particular point in time. We finished and clarified some of the usul in regards to the ayat. It's the first ayat that the great Imam, if you look and everyone looks in their books, as we talked about the ayah which Allah Ta'ala says in his book, everyone, the great Imam Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, what he used as evidence and proof in this chapter. We were elaborating and speaking about the ayah, which is the Surah to Yunus, ayah number 106. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَدْعُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنْفَعُكَ وَلَا يَضُرُّكَ فَإِنْ فَعِلْتَ فَإِنَّكَ إِذًا لَمِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Do not invoke besides Allah what does not benefit you nor harm you. For verily, if you do that, for verily, hence you will be from the zalimeen. And we said that the meaning of zalimeen, meaning here, the mushrikeen. You'll be from the polytheists, meaning you have nullified your Islam. We talked about the meaning of the line where it says, what does not harm you, and what does not benefit you nor harm you. We finished that. We finished explaining it. And we said that it's called sifatun kashifa. La mafhuma laha. Sifatun kashifa la mafhuma laha, يعني لا ليس هناك مفهوم المخالفة. Meaning that there's no meaning which necessitates the opposite of what one will understand from the ayah. As we explained on that for the last two lessons, right, everyone? We explained the meaning of sifatun kashifa. For those who don't understand, just ask me on the side or return back to the lessons that we had did last class or last week, and inshallah they will attain those details that has preceded. So we finished the meaning of sifatun kashifa. And the meaning of that, which a lot of those examples are in the book of Allah. We also spoke about in the ayah where Allah Ta'ala says in His book, what does not benefit you nor harm you, for hence if you do that, then you will be from the oppressors. And we said that oppressors here meaning what, everyone, in this context? You will be from the polytheists. You will be from the polytheists, in which we talked about is the most ultimate oppression that any human being can commit, which is shirk. There's no oppression that is greater than that one. There's no oppression no more worse than shirk, than setting up partners with Allah in His worship. There's in the next ayah, if everyone looks in their books after we concluded, mentioned that ayah, as we explained that in detail, and I took some time to break it down. There's in the next ayah, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, if you look, it's the next evidence and proof, in which you'll find that Allah Ta'ala says in His book, which also affirms about dua, and that is only for Him. Before I start on the new evidence, and we speak about it in detail, in depth a little bit, I want everyone to look in the ayah before it that we just finished. Go back a little bit, I'm sorry everyone, but go back a little bit. It's Surah Yunus, if you look in your books. It says, do not invoke besides Allah what does not benefit you nor harm you. And if you do that, then verily, hence you will be from the zalimeen. You'll be from the oppressors. How is this ayah as an evidence and proof? How is it suitable that for this ayah being put in the chapter? Why? Why did the great Imam Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, why did he use this ayah as an evidence and proof for this chapter of istighatha? It's simple, based upon what we already explained. Do not invoke besides Allah what does not benefit you nor harm you. It doesn't have istighatha nowhere in the ayah. The word ghawth or istighatha is not mentioned. So how did he extract this, or how did he use this ayah as a reference point or evidence and proof to show that istighatha for other than Allah is impermissible? Easy. Based upon what I said last class, or about 2 classes ago, in which I even said it about a couple of minutes ago. Say, I can't hear you. But give me a little bit more detail. If you invoke besides Allah, so what does that mean? You invoke istighatha. I'm looking for a point. Just say this. In the ayah, Allah makes it lawful to invoke other than Him. And istighatha is a type of dua. That's all you have to say. Istighatha is a type of dua. The ayah generalizes that any dua is not supposed to be for other than Allah, whether it be dua al-ibadah or dua al-mas'ala. As we talked about that last class. That the dua breaks down to 2 categories, as we mentioned, right? Allah generalizes all dua. Do not invoke besides Allah. So that means that's all the different various types of supplication in which Allah has made and He has laid down that is unlawful for dua to be other than Him. And istighatha is a type of dua in which if it's given for other than Allah, then it's considered polytheism. If you say that as an answer, that's correct. So that's the reason why the great Imam, Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, said that istighatha, even though it's not mentioned nowhere in the ayah, but due to his keen sense of extraction in regards to fiqh, he's seen how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala generalized in the ayah the supplication of all of its types, no matter what it is. There's no exception to it. Allah generalizes it. That's only exclusively for him. It is directed to him alone. And the great Imam knew that istighatha is a what? Is a type of dua, which as a result of it, if it's given for other than Allah, then it's considered major polytheism, where one will nullify his Islam. So that's the reason why we said in the ayah, it says, وَلَا تَدْعُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Do not invoke besides Allah. Meaning, generalizing every type of dua, no matter what it is. And from the type of dua is what we're speaking about now, which is called istighatha. Tha, bitha. Istighatha. طيب. So that's the reason why you see why he used this ayah as an evidence in this chapter. Right, everyone? طيب. If we go on to the next ayah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ. Everyone go and look in their books. Allah ta'ala says in his book, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُ وَإِن يُرِيدَكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَلَا رَادَّ لِفَضْلِهِ يُصِيبُ بِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. As Allah ta'ala mentions in his book, if your Lord was to touch you with some type of harm, no one can remove it except him. And if he wants for you a type of good or rahmah or mercy, then there's no one that can hold it back if Allah ta'ala wants it for that person. He tests with, or he gives it, or he afflicts, when he means test. Test with those of what? Of evil and good. Of who he wants. From his ibad, from his servants. And he's Ghafoor Rahim. So Allah ta'ala, as you see in the ayah, your books, everyone, Allah ta'ala says, if your Lord was to touch you with some type of harm, then there's no one that can remove it except him. We talked about in the last class, if one was to go back to the ayah before this one, I talked about this. If you go back, if you look in the Quran, this ayah is in Surah, likewise, what everyone? It's in Surah to Yunus. And the ayah that we just finished is also likewise in Surah to what? Yunus. So notice that these ayahs are connected. So notice it says, وَلَا تَدْعُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Do not invoke besides Allah to the end of that ayah. Then we go into this one. If your Lord was to touch you with some type of harm, no one can remove it except him. And if he wants some good for you, then no one can what? Hold it back or repel it if Allah wants to give it to that person. And he tests who he wills with it of his servants. And he's Al-Ghafoor Rahim. طيب. All these ayahs are in Surah to Yunus. Right, everyone? If you notice in the ayah, Allah ta'ala says, if Allah wants to touch you with some type of harm. All of this, or these ayats, are refutations against those Sufiya, of those who believe. Or number one, if we could go beyond that. First of all, it's a refutation against those who believe in Greek mythology. Meaning for those who believe that there's a what? There's a God of love, or there's a God of anger, or there's a God of rain, or there's a God of children who allow women to become pregnant, or there's a God for this one, there's a God for that one, there's a God for good things that happen in your life, there's a God for bad things that happen in your life. Allah ta'ala refutes all of that, saying that all these affairs that take place in this existence, Allah allows it to happen to everyone, of who he wants to what? Of who he wants to test. So for those who believe in these different types of deities, that they have different types of duties that they're entrusted with to conduct in this existence of certain things in people's lives, or certain elements, whether it be love, or whether it be anger, or whether it be rain, or whether it be sustenance, or what have you. As we all know, that was part of Greek mythology. in which in this ayah, Allah Ta'ala is refuting all those different types of ideologies, which He says, if Allah wants to what? Touch you with some type of harm. So none of those affairs in which the people believe, who believe, for example, of Greek mythology, of all those different types of deities that are responsible for different duties, in which happens in people's lives, even to the point where they believe there's a God of war, there's a God of anger, there's a God of love, there's a God of sustenance. Allah Ta'ala nullifies all of that with one kalima, La ilaha illallah. If one understands that and he truly ponders on it, then Greek mythology will be one of the most distasteful, most detested of beliefs, based upon if one truly understood the meaning of La ilaha illallah. We also talked about, likewise, even though Greek mythology is refuted in this ayah, was also refuted in the ayah as in regards to the Sufiya. Because similar to how the Greeks believe, you'll find that a lot of those who are the extremists from the Sufiya have these wicked type of methodologies and ideologies and convictions. For example, you'll find from their beliefs in some of their so-called Mashayikh al-Turuq al-Sufiya that they believe that this sheikh who's alive or this sheikh who's dead, he's the one that can allow good happen in your life. And that sheikh over there, or that sheikh, his job is to relieve you of some type of harm in your life, to give you some type of relief. And that sheikh over there is the type that can maybe make dua for you or your children, or your family, your wife, and she will, inshallah, they don't say inshallah, but by him or his will, meaning that particular sheikh, she'll become pregnant. All these are what? Similar to what happened with the polytheists prior from before. But it's just in the name of Islam, where now Shaitan utilizes Islam to cover it up, but all in all, it's the same methodology in which Shaitan utilized to take the people away from what it was correct and landed them in the hellfire forever. And the same thing happened to those who are upon these deviant methodologies from the Sufiya. Even though they might use names which are Muslim names or Islamic names, or they might use different types of ways of saying that this is Islam to cover it up. But the method is the same. And the polytheist, or the type of, if you want to say, the paganist type of methodology here is still the same. Even though they say so-and-so sheikh, his name is Abdul Ghafur, or so-and-so, or Abdul Qadir, or whoever it is. The methodology is still the same. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only refutes the Greek those who believe in Greek mythology in these ayat, also those who believe from the extremists of the Sufiya who have this type of conviction, that sheikh is for what? For allowing women to become pregnant, and that sheikh is to give you some type of relief in your life, and that sheikh, his job or his duty, if you make dua to him, he will what? Remove some type of sadness or grief or depression in your life. That's his job. He conducts in people's in this existence. All of this, like we said, are ideologies of those who were destroyed from the past, in which Shaitan came to some of the Muslims, especially the deviant sects of the Sufiya, who are truly engrossed in this type of what? These type of ideologies and beliefs, which are the most wicked. We said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, this ayah refutes all of that. For Allah Ta'ala says clearly, He is the one that if He wants to touch you with some type of harm, no one can remove it except Him. Of what took place in everyone's individual lives, or individually, of what takes place in one's life, of something that will cause you harm physically, or even what you internalize in your heart, of some type of depression or sadness or grief. Allah Ta'ala, if He wants to test you with that, no one can what? No one can take it away except Him subhanahu jalla fil ula. For Allah Ta'ala says in this book, no one can remove it except Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put emphasis on it when He said, La kashifa lahu illahu. There's no one that can remove it without any exception. And this is called nafiya lil jins in the Arabic language. It's called la nafiya lil jins, meaning Allah is negating everything in its existence. No one can remove it except Him. If Allah Ta'ala wants to touch one or some type of test, physically, or something in his family, or within himself. Allah Ta'ala put what? Emphasis on it by using what they call la, nafiya lil jins. Meaning la, negating, or the kalima la, or excuse me, the harf la, that is removing everything of creation. In which Allah Ta'ala only gave the exception, which is Him. He says, وَإِن قُلْنَا بِجَوَازِ كَوْنِ خَبْرِهَا مَعْرِفَةً صَارَ هُوَ الْخَبْرِ. That is also coincides with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, as we know. A hadith of Ibn Abbas, where the Prophet ﷺ had taught when he was a little child or he was very young. He says, Ya ghulam inni u'allimuka kalimat, ihfadillah yahfadhuk, ihfadillah tajidhu tujahak. فإذا استعنت فاستعين بالله وإذا سألت فاسأل الله وإذا استعنت فاستعين بالله واعلم أن الأمة لو اجتمعوا على أن يضروك بشيء لم يضروك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله عليك وإن اجتمعوا على أن ينفعوك بشيء لم ينفعوك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله لك ورفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. This hadith is put switching in one part, but we mentioned this hadith. On the hadith of Ibn Abbas, as we all know, in which he was giving him sincere advice. And this hadith is a refutation and it's also a teaching and a lesson for us as human beings generally. He says, oh Ibn Abbas, I'm going to teach you some words. He says, guard Allah. Allah will guard and protect you. What does that mean? Meaning that uphold His boundaries and obey Him or what He's commanded you. What He's obliged upon you of those duties, those obligations, carry them out. And if you do this, this will be considered you protecting or guarding Allah, meaning guarding His boundaries, what He set, upholding and carrying out what He has obliged upon you of those obligations and duties, and staying away from the prohibitions. Whereas if you do this, Allah will protect you. Also, likewise, carrying out what is the most utmost of importance, or the most utmost of affair, which is the greatest of importance. Whereas you unify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His worship, and you make dua to Allah, and you direct your supplication to Allah exclusively for Him, making and asking Him subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection of everything that will cause you harm, whether it be in your belief system, in yourself, or outwardly, physically, or with the things around you. If you do these things and you direct your worship, Allah Ta'ala will protect you. And if, he goes on to mention to Ibn Abbas, احفظ الله يحفظك احفظ الله تجده تجاهك. And if you also carry out those set and uphold and respect and magnify and also glorify and venerate those boundaries that Allah Ta'ala has set, where you respect them and you know that they are from those affairs that are from those hawl al-hima, or those hima, those sanctuaries of His kingdom that you should not what? Transgress. If you uphold the boundaries and do not transgress them, you will find Allah in front of you. Meaning, you will find that Allah Ta'ala will give you aid and protection. Because we know on front, the meaning of it, as we know, is not how the Sufi understand it. That Allah Ta'ala will stand in front of you. La, that's not the meaning of this particular hadith. Allah Ta'ala is above the heavens. Meaning, Allah Ta'ala Himself, He's closer to us. Even though He's above the heavens, He's closer to you than that individual being next to you. What does we mean by that? Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not close to you by His essence. Allah is above the heavens. However, Allah ta'ala, due to the fact that His knowledge is everywhere and He is all aware of everything, this type of ihata and this type of knowledge, and Allah ta'ala have a knowledge of everything, is more in depth of a closeness of a friend or a person being next to you, due to the fact that His knowledge is more in depth of what's taking place than you even know what's going on with yourself. Allah Ta'ala knows what's going on under this rug, and what's going on in your body, even though you are in yourself as the human being, the body that is what? That is inside that particular body. So when we say that Allah Ta'ala is close, meaning close in His knowledge and His encompassment of everything that's taking place simultaneously, that is the almost greatest of closeness. Not as far as in the essence itself, but as far as in the knowledge, because knowledge, if one has total awareness and knowledge of everything, that's considered closeness. If that's not closeness, then what is? Where one has all knowledge of everything, and he has all awareness of everything. And nothing escapes from Him, Ta'ala, of an atom's weight of anything in its existence. That closeness in which the Prophet ﷺ was speaking about is the closeness of awareness and all knowledge in Him, Ta'ala, encompassing everything. Because Allah Ta'ala is bigger than everything. He's bigger than the Arsh, He's bigger than the footstool, bigger than everything in its existence. And like we said, the Prophet ﷺ had talked about this existence that we're in now, in which the human beings deemed to be so-called big and vast, in comparison just to the footstool of Allah, just His footstool is just what, everyone? It's like a little ring thrown in the middle of a desolate desert. That's just the footstool of Allah. So how many of these people who think that how vast this universe is and how vast space is and all these other affairs in which we know in the authentic text that the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and said, this thing in which we consider to be so vast and big in comparison to the footstool of Allah, even though of its vastness in which we know, which the Prophet ﷺ has established, and all the authentic ahadith, that from one heaven to the next is the distance of 500 years. That's just one heaven. And then another heaven is another distance of another 500 years. All the way up to another heaven, to another heaven, to another heaven, to another heaven, to another heaven of 7. That's very, very vast and very spacious. That's a long time. And despite of that, the Prophet ﷺ had described of that which is pertaining to the dunya and that which is of just the footstool of Allah, is that which is like a ring which is thrown in the middle of a desolate desert. Then that vastness of the footstool in comparison to the Arsh is just like the ring that's thrown in the middle of a desolate desert. If that's the size of how the Arsh in comparison to all this existence is just a little minute, little small thing, what about Allah Ta'ala in comparison to the Arsh, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bigger than everything. So that being the case, this type of closeness, what we're talking about, is to show how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and that He subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware and all knowledgeable of everything, because Abdullah bin Mas'ud said in the last part of the Athar when he was describing how small and minute these things are in regards to the glory and the magnificence of Allah, when he said at the end of it, he says, Wallahu fawqa al-arsh, he says, Wal arsh fawqa al-ma, Wallahu fawqa al-arsh, wa la yakhfa alayhi shay'un min a'malikum. He says, and we know likewise from the greatest of creation, in which we know also there's a water hovering in the air, a huge, vast water that is hovering, in which we also affirm that it's just hovering in the air, that is above the footstool. And Ibn Mas'ud said that the Arsh is above the water, and the water is above the Arsh. The Arsh is above the water, and Allah is above the Arsh. And nothing is hidden from Him of your deeds, of your actions. Nothing. So this is to show that due to the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bigger than everything, if these minute affairs, or these minute type of existence, in regards to the great vastness and magnificence of Allah, that closeness is to show you how Allah is aware of every single thing in this existence. And that closeness is more in depth than your own friend being sitting right next to you directly in your own chair. That knowledge and that awareness is more deeper than you of being in your own body, of your own self. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's going on in your body, and you don't even know of certain affairs that's taking place in your body that you don't even know about. If that's not closeness, then what is closeness? That closeness of not of His essence, but the closeness of all awareness and all knowledge is even more depth than someone just sitting right next to you, even though they don't even know what's going on within yourself. So the qurb in which we're talking about, in which Allah is in front of you, meaning that Allah Ta'ala will be with you with His what? His knowledge and His awareness and His aid. And also likewise His what? His protection. So when the Prophet ﷺ said this hadith to Abdullah bin Abbas, he says, guard and uphold those affairs in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obliged upon you to protect. You'll find Allah in front of you, meaning you'll find that Allah ta'ala will give you aid and He will protect you. And He will what? Because He has all knowledgeable of your affair. And He ta'ala will give you protection. So when the Prophet ﷺ said this in the last part of the hadith, when he said to Ibn Abbas, giving him this advice, he said to him, know for sure if all of the ummah was to come together upon to give you some type of benefit, none of them were able to benefit you except what Allah has written for you. And likewise the opposite. All of them wanted to come together to what? To harm you. None of them will be able to harm you except what Allah Ta'ala has what? Written against you. This hadith has so many benefits in which we don't have time to speak and extract all the benefits from this hadith. But from them is the affair of establishing the monotheism of Allah, meaning no one in this existence has this dominance except Allah. No one has this sovereignty. No one has this magnificence or this sublimity or this type of power or might or domination except Him Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. In which, if you know that this is the case, that He is the one that has this type of power, and it's on this type of level, then you know that He is the only one you need to direct your worship to alone. Nothing from the creation. Nothing that Allah created, not a prophet who was close or a messenger who was close, not a prophet that was been sent or a messenger that's been sent, nor an angel that is close to Him deserves worship, because He Ta'ala has made it clear that He is the one that ultimately dominates what takes place in people's lives. He is the one that Ta'ala that can control and make your life go in a direction which is good, and if He wants, He can turn it in a direction which is terrible, which could be your destruction. May Allah Ta'ala protect us. But He is the one ultimately, subhanahu jalla fil ula, that has that type of dominance and power, in which the Prophet ﷺ was given this to Abdullah bin Abbas in order to establish that if you know that this is the case, this is how the state is, then He is the one that deserves this type of ibadah. Not for any Sufi sheikh, not for even Jesus the son of Mary, not for any particular individual, not for any person, not even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, we know that if one was to commit this type of act, this will anger the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If one directed his worship to him, rather you have destroyed his whole mission of why he was even sent as a messenger and a prophet in the first place. If you make dua to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his whole messengership started and was laid down of carrying out and actualizing what we're speaking about now. And if you turn around and make dua to him, you destroyed his whole mission of why he was even sent as a messenger in the first place. Because you nullified the monotheism of Allah. And where we know that if that's not intact, then all the other deeds are what? Rendered null and void and fruitless. Have no benefit whatsoever. That's why we said that this is the case in which you find in this ayah that the Prophet, or that Allah Ta'ala says, if Allah wants to touch you with some type of harm, no one can remove it except Him. No matter how much of depression you are in, and no matter how much of a predicament you're in, or sadness, or what's taking place in your life, no matter what type of hardship you're facing, or what's going on in your life, in which you think that these worldly things temporarily can remove it, if Allah Ta'ala wants to keep throwing depression and sadness and grief in your heart, you will never have it removed until Allah allows it to be removed. And if Allah Ta'ala wants to keep putting it in there, it will stay in there. No matter how much you gain or how much you gather of dunya. And that's the reason why Allah Ta'ala is saying this in this ayah. That this is the case in which He removes the harm if He wants to touch you with it. Notice that in the ayah, if you look in your books, Allah says if He wants to touch you with it. Notice it didn't say in the ayah if He wants it for you. As I said this in last class. If you look in your book, it says if He wants to touch you with it. It doesn't say He wants it for you. Meaning if He wants to test you with it. That is the reason why we talked about in the last class that these are from the evidences and proofs to show that evil is not ascribed to Allah. Evil is not ascribed to Him. that evil is not ascribed to him based upon the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used in the context of the ayah, what everyone? He used the word yamsaska, meaning if he wants to touch you. He didn't say if he wants for you harm. Why? Because of the other ayat in the book of Allah, which is the Surah Al-Jinn, as we know. Allah Ta'ala says in this book that the jinn, when they had told how they don't have knowledge of the unseen, they don't know what is destined for the creation, meaning of the affairs of the qadr, except from those shayateen that steal something that was been preordained of what has been destined for someone or something in the earth, or people in the earth, or people in the dunya. But the origin of the affair is that the jinn do not know what is destined for the creation, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his book that the jinn said, وَإِنَّا لَا نَدْرِي وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي أَشَرٌ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَمْ أَرَادَ بِهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ رَشَدًا. The jinn in this ayah did not ascribe evil to Allah. Listen to the ayah. وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي. And we do not know, we do not have knowledge of evil, of what is intended for those in the people of the earth. Or if Allah wants for them rashada, guidance. What do you notice? Now put that ayah, what I just said, and put it and apply it to your book here in your book. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to complete the ayat again, which is in Surah Yunus, ayat number 107. It says, if Allah wants to touch you with some type of good, wants to touch you with some type of harm, no one can remove it except him. And if he wants for you some type of good, then no one can hold it back or repel it if he wants to give it to an individual or give it to a person. Now apply it to what the jinn said. For verily we do not know if evil is it intended for those in the earth, or if Allah wants for them guidance. Just to sum it up, everyone, here in this ayah, I'll make the comparison. If Allah wants to touch you with some type of good, notice Allah didn't say if Allah wants to, why do I keep saying good? If Allah wants to touch you with some type of harm. Notice Allah Ta'ala says if Allah wants for you some type of harm. Then in the second part of the ayah, which is in Surah Yunus, the ayah number 107, and if Allah wants for you some type of good. So now let's go back to the ayah Surah Jinn, which is probably the 7th ayah, Surah Jinn. Verily we do not have knowledge of what is intended of evil for the people of the earth, or if your Lord wants for them guidance. So notice in the second part of the ayah, if this ayah, in affairs in the context was speaking about good, both of the ayahs agreed unanimously and said, if Allah wants for them good, or if Allah wants for you good. In contrast, in the first part of the ayah, either it says Allah wants to touch you, or if it's intended for the people of the earth. That type of context and wording in these ayat is to show that Allah Ta'ala, evil is not ascribed to him. To the point where even the jinn themselves had enough respect to say, we do not know if evil is intended for the people of the earth. Is it clear what I'm saying? Stop for you there. No. طيب, these ayat are proofs to show, what everyone? That evil is not ascribed to Allah. Evil is not ascribed to Allah, even though Allah Ta'ala allows good and evil to happen. For Allah Ta'ala, by what He wants in this existence, what He destines, of what we know of good and evil has to take place, of what the human being perceives and understands as evil or harm or pain, or what takes place in this existence, all of it is under Allah Ta'ala's domination and what He destines to happen for the creation, without any exception. Allah Ta'ala allows good and evil to happen. And that's by what Allah wants in this existence and by His pre-divine decree and destiny. Allah Ta'ala allows good and evil to happen, and it has to happen. Good and evil, it has to happen, it has to take place. Of what we deem of pain, suffering, sadness, loss of loved ones, loss of family, loss of certain things that we adore or what we find valuable, or what takes place in our lives of different pains physically or emotionally or what have you. All of that has happened. All of that takes place by Allah, by His will and by His domination, by His what? His destiny and His divine decrees we know. For Allah Ta'ala in this ayah is just showing that evil is not ascribed to Him even though He allows it to happen. Because there is another ayah, we'll get into it inshaAllah, where Allah is frank, where He says, if Allah wants for you some type of harm. To show that He ultimately is what? He's in control, no doubt. But however, He used other different types of wording in His book, Ta'ala, to show and lay down a belief that the mu'mineen, of the believers, of those who have truly have correct faith, that evil is not ascribed to Allah whatsoever. But Allah Ta'ala allows affairs and events and different types of things to take place and to transpire, all by some wisdom in which Allah Ta'ala knows and we do not know. By some infinite wisdom or some infinite knowledge that Allah Ta'ala has, where He has Ta'ala, which we might perceive as something evil, but it's something good as it pertains to Allah Ta'ala. So these type of what? Ayat is to affirm this type of belief. That what? That evil is not ascribed to Allah. So when you see when Allah does not touch you, means what? That evil is not ascribed to Allah. Because it did not say if Allah wants to touch you with harm. Even though in another ayah Allah does say frankly, if Allah wants to touch you with some type of harm. Because that's to show that ultimately that He is the one that's what? In control. But even though He's in control, do not ascribe what? Evil to Him. Is it clear? That's the reason why we talked about in the ahadith, which is a dua al-istiftah, of the dua, the supplication that one makes when he wants to start his salah, in which the Prophet ﷺ had highly encouraged that we memorize, and that we also mention. It's a beautiful dua, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. It's what they call dua al-istiftah, the supplication when you want to inaugurate or start your prayer. Before you actually recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Before you recite Surah Al-Fatiha. There's a long dua, some of them are short, some of them are long. In which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, and I said this dua before, dua is kind of long. It says, Allahumma wajjahtu wajhi lilladhi fatara as-samawati wal-arda hanifa wa ma ana min al-mushrikeen. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen la sharika lahu wa bidhalika umirtu wa ana awwalul muslimin. Allahumma anta al-malik la ilaha illa anta rabbi wa ana abduk ظلمت نفسي واعترفت بذنبي فاغفر لي ذنوبي جميعا إنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت واهدني لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت واصرف عني سيئها لا يصرف عني سيئها إلا أنت لبيك وسعديك والخير كله في يديك والشر ليس إليك أنا بك وإليك تباركت وتعاليت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. That is a dua istiftah, where the Prophet ﷺ used to say that before he recited Surah Al-Fatiha. He didn't say it loud, he would say it quiet. No one would know. Until some of the Sahaba used to say, "No, Messenger of Allah, what are you saying?" And he said that was from the supplications that he used to make. That long dua. That dua is beautiful. If you heard it, it bring tears to your eyes. The long dua he recited before Surah Al-Fatiha. We started actually reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. And some of our people, we complain. I remember I said that dua, and after that I started reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and people was like, man, subhanAllah, Salat was long. I said, brothers and sisters, like we live in a time, subhanAllah, everything has to be short, relax. Everybody wants this. Is there any time there has to be, we think that the majority of our lives has to just be all relaxation. Everything got to be easy. There's no difficulties that sometimes the prayer can be long, or you see some things that you deem that you're not acclimated to seeing. As I did that one time, somebody thought it was a Sufi. I said, man, that's a long dua he was making. He was quiet a long time in the salat before he started reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. But if you read that dua, the dua is beautiful. Beautiful dua. Prophet ﷺ was laying down Tawheed at first. Then he started talking about perfect my character. Make me a better person in my character, my etiquette. Beautiful dua. Alayhi salatu wassalam. Perfect my character. Make it better. Make my behavior better. Make my etiquette better. Make my deals with the people in that same dua. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, he says, وَهْدِنِي لِأَحْسَنِ الْأَخْلَاقِ لَا يَهْدِي لِأَحْسَنِهَا إِلَّا أَنْتَ وَاصْرِفْ عَنِّي سَيِّئَهَا. Take me from the most evilest of character. No one can take it away except you. He said, لَبَّيْكَ وَالسَّعِدَيْكَ وَالْخَيْرُ كُلُّهُ فِي يَدَيْكَ. He says, I answer your call of لَبَّيْكَ وَالسَّعِدَيْكَ, and all the happiness, and all of it is in your hands. Evil is not to you. Evil is not to you. That's the point of the reference of evidence point, which is extracted in that particular dua. So, that's all to show what everyone, that dua is not, that evil is not ascribed to Allah Jalla fil Ula. Where's your books? None of your books with you? طيب. So all of these is to show what everyone, that evil is not ascribed to Allah Ta'ala, just in brief, just to sum it all up. طيب. Allah Ta'ala, last part of the ayah, I don't think they put it all in your books. It says that if Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Allah Jalla fil Ula, wanted to repel or hold something back, I'm sorry everyone. And if he wanted for you some type of good, no one can what? Hold it back. No. There's no one that can hold it back due to his bounty or his blessing, meaning that if he wants to give it to a person, no one can hold it back. And he tested by those affairs of good and evil of his servants. And he is what? He is Ghafur Rahim. So you'll find that those ayats is to show also likewise that being tested with good or having good is also a test. As relief in times of ease is also a test. Times of adversity and times of when things are rough is a test. And likewise when things are moving in a manner which you like, where everything is copacetic, everything is relaxing, where everything is what you want, then that affair is likewise is a what? Is a test from Allah Ta'ala. All of those affairs are from Him. But however, ultimately one is to know, and I've talked about this before, if Allah Ta'ala wants to touch you with some type of, if He wants for you some type of good, no one can hold it back if Allah wants to give it to you. No one can hold it back. So ultimately, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, all these affairs in which takes place in our lives, of what we think we've missed, of what we think that if we would have done it a certain way, maybe this would have took place, or maybe the outcome would have been like this, or would have been a better outcome if I would have done it this way, or did it that way, or if I would have probably did more strategically this way, or I've been tactful that way, maybe I would have had this, or maybe my life wouldn't have been like this. Allah Ta'ala ultimately makes all this clear when He says, if Allah Ta'ala wanted for you that particular thing, or that particular affair, or that particular woman, or that particular man, or that particular money, or that particular dunya, or that particular a particular business venture, if Allah Ta'ala wanted for you, we would have had it. If Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala wanted it for you, it would have been yours. Or you wanted to pass that test, or if you wanted whatever it is. Of what we know is good, or what we deem is good, if Allah Ta'ala wanted it for you, would have had it. And it's a hard pill for a lot of us to swallow. If you hear a lot of our conversations, we have so much regret, remorse. Of course, no doubt. We attain wisdom based upon our experiences to not to do the same thing or fall into the same error due to the fact that the Prophet ﷺ had clearly told us to what? Carry out and do those affairs that will allow you to attain that good in your life, no doubt. Put forth the effort. But ultimately, have your aqeedah tied and your heart tied in with Allah. Because if the outcome didn't if the outcome didn't become in a manner in which you thought you wanted, know for sure that it was all by in the hands of Allah Ta'ala of what? That particular affair, He did not want it for you. He didn't want you to have it. Or something that you set out to attain and it didn't happen, Allah Ta'ala also did not want you to have that either. Or that particular woman or that particular spouse or that particular loved one that you lost, or whatever it is, or whoever it is. Ultimately, if Allah Ta'ala wanted, that person would still be around. And if Allah Ta'ala wanted, then that person will still be in your life. Or that person will what? Still be with you. Or that money you had, you would still have it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ultimately is in control and total domination. But however we know, as it comes to the actual application of these matters that we learn in these classes, then you see something totally different. Even though we come to Aqidah class and we hear these ahadith, but when the test comes, you see a totally different person. So a person would say now, even in now, especially about to stop class now, especially now, for example, especially with us, with the men and the sisters, both. You find that they say, for example, man, I'm tired of this religion. Subhanallah al-Azim. They'll try to blame it on Allah or they blame it on the religion. I don't know why. Even though the Christians don't even do that. If they don't have a bad relationship, the first thing they don't turn to is say, I'm not going to be Christian no more. They just said whatever, I just found another one. But so for some odd reason, I don't know, shaitan puts in the mind of a person that if something bad takes place in their life, the first thing you would think is the religion's fault. It's Allah's fault. That's the first thing that shaitan puts in the mind of a lot of us. So now, as a result of it, I'm not practicing Islam no more. So you say to the person, brother or sister, who are you harming? Allah? You harming His religion? You harming the creation? Or ultimately, who are you harming? Yourself. Allah Ta'ala says it clearly in His book. Clearly in the hadith of Qudsi, where the Prophet said, Allah said, He says, Ya ibadi, innaka lan tadurruni, lan tablughu durri fatadurruni. Wa lan tablughu naf'i fatanfa'uni. Allah says in His book, He says, oh my servants, you will never be able to reach to harm me or try to attain to harm me, whereas you used to harm me. And nor would you try to think you can benefit me, where you try to attain some benefit to benefit me, whereas you can benefit me. Meaning that your benefit, your obedience, your uprightness is for your own self. Doesn't increase Allah or decrease Him in anything. And the harm of you do is not harm upon Allah or harm upon anyone. The harm is upon what? Upon your own self. So in regards to what we're saying here, the people now, shaitan, as soon as something doesn't work out in our lives personally, then it's the religion's fault. I'm taking off my jilbab, or I'm going back in the street. I'm tired of all this. I'm sick of this and what's going on in my life. Yeah, this is the reason why we're learning Aqidah right now. So when the time comes to what? To apply it, now it's time to apply it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted that man to treat you good, He would have treated you good. However, Allah wanted to test you by him, where He treated you bad, where He treated, what happened, it took place, so now what are you going to do about it? And likewise, similar to us, likewise the men, subhanallah al-azim, I tried to be the best husband I could, I did everything I could, this woman still treated me bad, still wanted to try to find my shortcomings, and I'm a terrible husband, and I'm this and I'm that, and this and that, and trying to find these shortcomings. Ultimately, Allah Ta'ala, if He wanted for you, that particular individual, she would still be in your life right now. Maybe Allah removed her out of your life because He wanted something better to give you. But all of us always are so short-sighted of everything that has to be here and now in front of my face. If I don't see it, I don't want it, or I'm not trying to hear it. It has to be right in front of me where it's tangible for me to what? Grab it, where I can see the good, where you're not being farsighted. And I've talked about this on many occasions. I've seen in my own personal experiences so many times where Allah Ta'ala spared me in so many situations where I couldn't understand that I wanted this person, why this person treat me like this, or why this person not in my life now, or why couldn't I attain and marry that sister? She seemed like that particular good sister at that particular time. Why couldn't I marry? Why didn't I take place? Then I look to the future and you see 3, 4, 5, 8 years from now, then you hear about what happened and who she is, and then you hear the story, you're like, whoa. I'm glad I got that out of my life. Woo! But however, in that particular moment when Allah was testing you and he removed it from you, you was just, oh man, why is this happening to me? To the end of it. We don't understand certain affairs due to the fact we have to always have in our minds and our aqidah, in which the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and said about the knowledge of Allah, that his knowledge and our knowledge that we've been given in comparison to how the knowledge of Allah is and how complete it is, it's just like you taking a fingertip and sticking it in the ocean and you taking it out. That's to show the vast completeness of Allah's knowledge in comparison to the knowledge we have. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is greater than that. But just to give us a perception of how great his knowledge is, how even Khidr has said to Musa, even though Khidr has said to Musa when he seen the woodpecker had stuck its peck in the ocean, he said, my knowledge I've been given and the knowledge you've been given, Musa, is no more than what that woodpecker had stuck his little beak in the ocean and took it out. We hear these ahadith, but when are we going to actually now have some type of effect over our lives? We hear this. We come to class, we sit, we listen. But when we come now, when Allah gives us the test, that's when the actual reality appears. Did you understand and truly benefit your class? We come to these classes all the time, learn this aqidah. But now, is it truly having an impact in your life when Allah has set the test for you? Set the stage, not the stage literally is for an acting movie stage, but set the stage where it's to test you. Where now when the test comes, flips. Now you want to blame the religion, blame Allah, all these Muslims is bad, I'm tired of this, I'm leaving the religion. Did you truly benefit from this aqidah class? No, you didn't. Because you knew that if Allah Ta'ala wants to test you, he's going to test you. You're going to sometimes walk in the masjid. Yeah, you might find some people with bad manners. Yes, it does happen. Yes, we want to find, especially Allah Ta'ala is sad. We sad to say this, but a lot of our people don't have the best of manners. They don't. It is what it is. A lot of us don't have the best of manners, but they're still upon the truth. You can't deny it. That's just something that Shaitan has utilized that we have to start now trying to fight so the people will stop being scared off from the Salafis because of our shortcomings in this regard. But at the end of the day, you cannot deny that they're not upon the truth. You can't take that away from them. But as far as in the affairs of etiquette, no doubt, we need to improve. But it's not for you to walk in the masjid and try to utilize that as an affair to say how the religion is bad. Because we know ultimately, if you read the text, Allah Ta'ala is what? Calls to having good character and good etiquette and good dealings with the people. And I just read a long dua that you make even in the salat. I just read it to you. I just said it. Which is to let us know that we're supposed to what? We're supposed to try to complete our character and be better people, no doubt. But now at the same time, you can't say that now I'm going to reject the truth. I'm tired of this religion because I'm sick of these Muslims. I'm sick of how they treat me. I'm sick of the people. If Allah Ta'ala wanted for you certain people, but he wanted to test you by this type of harm that you receive, you just got to be patient. Be patient. Be steadfast. Be the person to take the high road. But still, at the end of the day, don't utilize this as a way to Shaitan to laugh at you, where now you're going to what? Go back to kufr. Or go back to the Sufi masajid. Or go back to the masajid of Ahlul Bid'ah, where Shaitan decorates their etiquette. Because he knows he knows they are finished. Especially the people of kufr and shirk. Khalas, Shaitan's finished with them. So what's left now is to set a trap with them by utilizing them to what? Have the best of character. Then the people of Bid'ah comes right after that. Allowing the Sufis to have good character. Yeah, he come in, brother, let's sit down, I'll give you something to eat and now you marry my daughter. Come on, I made my daughter off to you. All that nonsense, that artificial akhlaq, in which Shaitan utilizes to what? To trick the people, so you can fall to misguidance. And that's the reason why us as the people of the truth need to what? Try to improve ourselves as far as our etiquette and our character, how we deal with people. Because Shaitan knows that we still have some life left in us. So he utilizes this as a trap for us to what? Whisper in our ear, to not like to smile, like to be rough looking and treating people bad and always trying to undercut and do something slick and being all, just being manipulative to the end of it. In order for Shaitan to utilize that for the people that wants to desire to embrace the truth, they can say, that's the reason why I don't want to accept it, because of this type of behavior. No doubt, us as the Salafis need to improve in that regard. But at the same time, those people cannot utilize that as an excuse to leave off the truth. You have no excuse. Why I say that? Because you clearly read these books that the judge of the truth is never judged based upon the actions of the people, ever. Rather, it's the opposite. You read the book, you read the text, then you judge the people's actions in accordance to that. And if you see that which is wrong, what they're doing, do you know that it's to the people and it's not to Allah and His religion, which is perfect? Because what He's upon and what He legislates is absolutely correct and absolutely perfect and absolutely was going to benefit the people. However, the problem is in the people themselves, not the religion. And if you hold on to that aqidah, you will be able to get through this darkness. You will allow Shaitan to set up these different traps that he set in order to misguide people until they fall back into kufr and shirk and bid'ah, in which you see which is taking place now. And what you see for those different masajid right now, a lot of different ones, especially those callers of Salafiyya who are not callers, and people know what I'm talking about. They have come in and they have what? Good akhlaq, brother. You don't know what, come on, sit down, brother. You talk to me. You can talk to me. Talk to me. I know they treated you bad up there. Come on, sit down. Let's go out. You need something? Then you say, subhanAllah, they're just so beautiful people. Shaitan is just like, yeah, I know. They beautiful people, ain't they? Yeah. Sit with them. Yeah. Uh-huh. It's a trap. And this is what falls with the people every day. See it happening every day. Shaitan plays with the minds of the people. That's the reason why, like we said, brothers, make sure you stay steadfast on your dua and stay steadfast. Just as Ibn Qayyim, as I read this benefit the other day. Shaitan, as this is a hadith, and I'm going to end the class off here. Shaitan, he says, the servant either is going to slaughter or punish his shaitan, or his shaitan is going to punish him. Everybody has an appointed shaitan to them. Everyone has an appointed shaitan to him. Everyone has an appointed shaitan to whisper to him, to tempt him. He says, either you're going to punish your shaitan, or your shaitan is going to punish you. What does Ibn Qayyim mean by that? Meaning you punish your shaitan by what? By your dhikr of Allah, by your remembrance of Allah, by your istighfar of Allah, by you mentioning Allah, by you going outside, making dua, going outside the masajid, going all these different types of places in which the bathroom, whatever, where you eat or when you sleep or whatever, these are the affairs that aids in you punishing your shaitan. If you don't do that, and also the different types of other remembrances from the salawat and all those other things and siyam and all those other things, all those different types of aspects of ibadah. Now, if you don't do that, what do you think is going to happen? Now your shaitan is going to punish you, in which the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and said, he says, either your shaitan, you punish him, or he's going to punish you. And in the hereafter, he's also going to punish you in hell, if you don't punish him in his dunya. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So keep that clear in mind. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? We stop here and pray. Just one, then we stop because we got to pray. نافية للجن.